This is Module 5, Lesson 34. In this lesson, we'll be subtracting mixed numbers. Let's start with 8 and 1/10 minus 8/10. So we have a mixed number and we're subtracting a fraction. So what we're going to do is taking out 1, which is a strategy that we've used before. We're just going to modify it a little bit. So let's look at our mixed number, and we're going to take out 1, which is something we've done before. What we did in the past was we did 7 and 1/10 and 1. But this time, instead of writing 1 as 1, let's write it as 10/10. In other words, 7 and 1/10 could be written as 7 and 11/10. Since we've just added these together. Then the subtraction of the fraction is very easy because we just have 7 and 3/10. So again, we're breaking out 1, but instead of writing 1 as 1 and subtracting the fraction separately, we're combining the fractional parts into a fraction greater than 1 and then simply subtracting the fractional parts. We can show this on a number line. We have to be able to show 7 and 11/10 and up to 8 and 1/10. So we're going to have our number line go to 9 and we're going to divide into tenths. So if we start with 8 and 1/10 as we've rewritten it to 7 and 11/10, those two are equivalent. Then we're going to subtract 8/10, which will take us to 7 and 3/10. So all we've really added is rewriting 1 as 10/10, adding it to the fractional part of the remaining whole number, and then subtracting. Let's use the same strategy for subtracting a mixed number from a mixed number. So looking at the whole number parts, we can do that subtraction first, which leaves us with 9 and 1/5 minus 3/5. And again, we're going to do the same thing with our mixed number here. And instead of pulling out 1 as 1, we're going to pull it out as 5/5. So we take 1 away, leaving us with 8 ones. We write that 1 as 5/5 and we add the 1/5. So this is equivalent to 8 and 6/5. Then we can subtract 5 3/5 and end up with 8 and 3/5. Let's try another one. Again, a mixed number. Subtracting a mixed number where we can't subtract the fractional parts as they're written, since 1/5 is less than 4/5. So we're first going to subtract the whole numbers. Let's write this in the arrow way. We're going to subtract the whole number 2, leaving us with 2 and 1/5. Then we're going to think of 2 as 10/5. 5/5 plus 5/5, 10/5 plus 1/5. So this is the same as 11/5. We can now subtract 4/5, leaving ourselves with 7/5, which is the same as 1 and 2/5. So let's try some problems in our problem set. So here we're going to subtract a fraction from a mixed number. The strategy we're using is pulling out 1. So they've started it for us, rewritten 4 1/3 as 3 4/3. So now we can subtract the 2/3 and we end up with 3 2/3. You try B. Okay, here we have 4 because we've taken out 1, and we're thinking of 1 as 4/4, and we're adding it to 2/4 to give us 6/4. And then we're going to subtract 3/4. So we end up with 4 3/4. Try C. For C, again, we're going to take out 1, leaving us with 7. We're going to think of that 1 as 5/5, plus 3/5 is 8/5, minus 4/5 would be 7 4/5. Going on to number 2, we now have mixed numbers subtracted from mixed numbers. So we're going to subtract the 1s first and then decompose the mixed number that's left. So we subtract 1 minus 3 to get 2. So now we have 2 1/4 minus 3/4. We're going to rewrite 2 1/4 as 1 4/4 plus 1/4, 5/4. So now we can subtract the fractional part, and we end up with 1 2/4. You try B. When we subtract the 1s, we get 3. We're going to rewrite this as 2 7/5 minus 3/5 equals 2 4/5. Try C. We subtract the 1s and get 2 2/6 minus 5/6. We're going to take out 1. The other one is 6/6 plus the 2/6 we have is 8/6. Subtract 5/6. We end up with 1 3/6, which we can simplify to 1 1/2. Try D. We're going to subtract the 1s. So we have 7 3/5 minus 4/5. We're going to rewrite 7 as 6, and 5/5 plus 3/5 is 8/5. Minus 4/5 equals 6 4/5. Moving on to 3, again, we're subtracting mixed numbers. We can use whichever strategy works for you. Try A. For A, we're just going to subtract the 1s. We're going to rewrite this as 4 11/8 minus 5/8 would be 4 6/8, which is equal to 4 3/4. Try B. Subtract the 1s. Decompose 3 4/10 to 2. 10/10 plus 4/10 is 14/10. Minus 8/10 would be 2 6/10, which simplifies to 2 3/5. Try C. Subtract the 1s. decompose the mixed number. Subtract 8/12. And try D. Subtract the whole numbers. Rewrite the mixed number. And that concludes lesson 34.